Giancarlo, it's always such a pleasure to see you, but every time we talk to you, you're talking about a different show. You're just a very busy guy. It's never about the same project, which I think is wonderful, but must get confusing sometimes if you show up to the wrong set or have the wrong accent or anything like that.
You're so funny. Like 3 months ago, I've just finished a run of 8 months. I haven't been to my primary home in 9 months. And about 4 months ago, I was carrying four different scripts. And so I choose one, as I was on the airplane, and kept very diligent track of which one I was going to, and how I would act or react once I got there, when the plane landed. It's really fun to be in this position. I got to be honest with you. I don't feel frazzled or mentally challenged whatsoever. I really look forward to all the different characters I play, and it's a wonderful thing. Well, what I asked for many years ago was like, oh gosh, wouldn't it be great to work every day? I never said that I was asking to work as the same character every day. So yeah, it's been great. It's been really great. Acting is like poetry to me. The words and the writing is like poetry, and to be able to bring that to life is certainly a joy of mine.
I will say I had to go back and check. I couldn't remember if Stan Edgar was even alive anymore because it's on The Boys. Like there's a lot of heads popping and people you never really know, and people who die might still come back and all that. I also had an interview scheduled with Eric, and was very behind, so I had to binge, all of season four all at once. So which was quite an overwhelming experience because there's that show is just a lot. But I feel like Stan probably isn't the baddest character you've played before.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think, his nefarious nature shows through in many different ways because, certainly his actions affect most of the characters on the show. Outwardly the baddest, maybe not in that way. But we think of this kind of white collar, criminal in some ways on one side, and on the other side, outright a manipulator of murder. you know, we think about that a person differently, especially when they wear a suit and a tie. And that's the way we think about it in our world as well. So, the mask is more than just three-dimensional, right? This man could be a politician very easily. He could control politicians, and more than likely he does. He obviously is controlling, the pop culture zeitgeist of the time, especially in season four when Vought has branched out into the entertainment industry, into film and television. They've always been in that mantle. But now they're really suggesting world domination. So in certain ways, because of the grace and aplomb with which I'm bringing to, playing Stan Edgar, there's in a way something comforting. I think about you cannot lead unless you can follow. Like, so I think about the world as it is today. Who am I going to want to follow? I'm going to want to follow someone who knows the way. Right. And so, and only you and I can determine if we trust that person and we can see that that person really does know the way, or if they're bullshitting us, you know what I mean? Or if that person might be you, Abe, or me. So, get your rhetoric together because you may be forced to be in the position to lead.
I think you also have a character like Homelander who gets so angry and so violent and it's terrifying, but then you have somebody who can maintain their calm. And this is a Gus Fring thing also, right? That somebody who can be calm and quietly terrifying is almost scarier than somebody who explodes violently.
That's true. Um, I like to play characters who have a reason to explode or are suppressing um, something that has been festering within them for a long time. That certainly was the case with Gustavo Fring, and certainly for Stan Edgar. Um, there's something behind all this, and I go back to the story of Vought that he tells Homelander about it being a pharmaceutical company. He is a company man doing something for the corporate entity, which I believe is a very important part of Stan. What's coming out, obviously, with all of our characters, the boys and the soups, is that Stan, when you see him in his bunker, you realize he's rich. Well, of course he's rich. He's running a multi-billion dollar company. But is he to be an end all? No. I think what you don't see and what is not identified, of course, we see the president in our show and we see some government people. We don't see who really is at the head of Vought. And I like that because it allows us for our imaginations to understand like Stan is the top, but he may not be the top. He has some partners, just as Gustavo Fring had some partners in Germany, you know. So I like the idea that he is um, bringing a lot of people to his business that he is outwardly responsible for, but ultimately, he's in a conglomerate that is a group of soldiers and warriors who are doing their best to take over everything. Sound familiar?
Did you have a sense when you first started on the show what your arc would be like? Because I know you were in about half of season two, about half of season three, and now just the one episode of season four. And also, the show just finished filming, so I don't imagine you can tell me too much about what you may or may not be in with season five.
You know, I like the fact that I've been able to, and Kripke has created a character that can be in the show just enough and control the events and the actions of human beings just enough for you to know that he's still there and will be there. And that's fascinating to me because that really is true power. I love returning to this show. And again, you know, I ask for it because I want to be a part of the larger statement that the show is making. But I also believe that this character is an important one for us to look at, and a powerful one for us to look at. And so there's something about this particular character, the grace and aplomb with which he deals with Homelander, knowing that Homelander leads a father figure, knowing that Homelander cannot and will not kill him, being able to have such great lines that I've been given and finding a way to read them with that perfect pitch. Abe, you are not a god. You are simply bad product. I mean, this is, there's something to be said about that guy who has no fear. And I think it lines up in my life now because I'm more mature and I'm less afraid of the end. I'm way beyond being afraid of the beginning, so I'm in a place where I'm able to really be freer than I've ever been, and have a little more fun than I've ever had, and to relax more than I've ever had. And I think I've been the overachiever in my life. I've tried too hard, and I don't have to try so hard. When I step into that bunker as Stan Edgar and I'm wearing that Cuccinelli vest, and my bunker, I could live there for years. I'm laughing to myself, like, this is the kind of character I'm portraying. Why can't I be a little bit more like this in my life?
You've been on shows before that have been, embraced so fully by the Emmys, like Breaking Bad, shows that got so many nominations but never won any major prizes, like Better Call Saul. And then The Boys, which got one nomination for Best Drama Series a few seasons ago. You're the first acting nomination. Why do you think it is that this show, which is very highly praised by critics and audiences alike, hasn't really caught on with Emmy voters?
I think it's a little on the edge of being outrageous, but yet it stays within the parameters of being absolutely acceptable and pushing the limits of television. I think I really believe in this show, and I've loved what it says. And I also feel like it doesn't offend as other shows outwardly offend. Our government, our president, this is not, it's a very satirical stab at everything in life. And so I think it's a perfect mix. I can't explain why it hasn't been acknowledged more. I don't know the answer to that. I think it's just awkward and a little bit off, but I think there's an incredible amount of artistry, very profound artistry that goes not only into writing it, but also producing it. And so, yeah, I think some folks are a little bit shocked that here I am up for my sixth Emmy for this show. It's a great honor to me to be with the underdogs. I was with the underdogs in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and here I am again with the underdog team and the boys. For me, I can't say it doesn't matter because I believe it's really an honor to be recognized and acknowledged. And for me, that acknowledgement, that recognition is already a win. I cheer because, oh wow, you guys saw me, and so I'm in great gratitude to all the fans who really see the cultivated grace and elegance of Stan Edgar, and all of the folks in the Television Academy who go, hey, look at this. Because there's something I'm doing as an actor in this show that no other actor in this show is doing. And that's what I think is wonderful about being in the position I'm in. I think this show is a lot about that. I think every actor has chosen their lane and they do it so well. I'm like, look what he's doing. He's doing what he does best, but he sounds like he's from Brooklyn. He sounds like he's from New York. But it's so committed and it fits. This is a group of oddballs that have come together to do something. And isn't that the way life is in so many ways? So I'm so very honored to be in this particular group of thespians and creators.
On the note of working with a great group of thespians and creators, The Residence was a fun show from the season that is considerably lighter than The Boys, but I'd say that you play the most serious character on the show who doesn't seem like he's having all that much fun because he takes his job so seriously.
Yeah, I think I think he has to. He's in the White House and everything is going sideways. And his job is to have everything go smoothly. And so it's not a fun day for A.B. Winter at all. I like the fact that this show is so much lighter than most of the other shows I've done, and that I've had to be the anchor emotionally for the show, the anchor that is, that won't stay on the bottom of the ocean. It keeps sliding up, and he's about to lose it. And people don't really like him because who likes someone who has to delegate everything to you, and you don't like that person that has to keep it all together. But the responsibility for that is to have, the person who is running the nation comfortable, and it's the House. So, if anything, for me, A.B. Winter was so very important because it recognizes and represents the established feeling of a place. When do we ever get that? Like this place gives people comfort, consolation, protection, security, support, and so it's an odd thing that I'm doing. He even tells the president's brother that you cannot keep stealing all the statues and all the pens and throwing them in your room. Doesn't matter who you are, because this is the House and you can't go against the House. So established precedent, that's tried and true in time and memorial, becomes so very important to AB. And I like that his world is crumbling around him as we go on the journey of the resonance. But it's just so much fun as it happens.
It's common to see you in a lot of different roles. It's a little bit rarer to see you in just a single episode of a show. And I had that pleasure with Poker Face, which again is something entirely different from all these. What was it like immersing yourself in this funeral home world and a more, I'd say, solitary performance than usual?
Absolutely. It was really a joy, uh, to work with the whole crew. Uh, I felt like having the ability to realize and understand that Natasha is just such a creator, not only a wonderful writer, director, actress, but also a very quirky, in a way, human being within her characters. And to be able to play with her was a joy, and Katie Holmes was a joy. But yet, I had to find and stand my ground in order to create this character who was so tied to tradition, tied to family. I had to find the love of the family that went before me, that left me this funeral home, and the desire to further the family business, and to have that import of that affect the character's actions when he's left on his own, when he's abandoned. and how important that would be when that's all you have to hold on to. A very lonely man, and so I had to create a loneliness inside me that would transfer and translate to all of the audience, but for the audience to understand um, how important that is for him.
Here at Awards Buzz, we love to know the people we're talking to. What are you watching? What have you seen recently that's really impressed you?
Oh my goodness. What have I seen recently? Well, so I'm working so much, I haven't really had time to turn the television on, to be honest with you. But I did watch The Empress. Was it The Empress? And I love period pieces, so it really impressed me because I love period drama and I love costume drama, and I love historical, something that's connected to history. And so I did check that out about 3 or 4 months ago. I'm trying to come even more recent to see what I've been watching, but sadly, I haven't been able to hit the remote because I've been so I'm really lucky, Abe. I've been working for 7 months straight. I'm cultivating three different movie pieces. I've optioned a Stephen King novel from his latest book, a short story called the book is called Dark to Darkest, and I've got one of the short stories to develop. And so when a month ago I put down the acting hat and I knew I had maybe 2 months before I had to go back. I'm on the way back to London to do my second. I've already done one part of my second round of The Gentleman, and I've got to go back to do more. I realized I couldn't really take a vacation because the desire to get these developments on the road has been pressing up on me. And so I took the time to do that and have been really successful at feeling like, okay, this is in a great place. I can go back to acting again. Because what happens for me, the storm comes and there are characters I can't pass up because of this love I have for what I do. And so in between that, I do this other thing, which is produce and cultivate ideas for movies and television. So I've gotten two pieces ready, and I'm raising money for them now. I mean, literally in the last 5 days, stamped, ready. Let's go to investors. And so that's kind of what I do so that you can see me this time next year in more than just one project.
Never expect any less. Well, I would wish you, some time to relax and catch up on your TV, but it sounds like you're really enjoying what you're doing, and I have no doubt that I will see you in many things in the future and wish you nothing but luck and joy.
Thank you so much. You're a delight. Thanks very much for being with me, Abe.